So he's going to talk about why recessions don't hurt rednecks. And that, of course, if you don't know, if you live like in the northeast part of the United States and maybe the central north, the word redneck is a pejorative. But down home and across much of the Midwest, it's a compliment. It means that you obey the law, you're inventive, you work hard, you pay your taxes. Very often it means you go to church, or you at least have a pretty solid moral base for your life.
You know, it's a great, beautiful filter. You should check it out on Instagram. Word is on the street that we are headed for a big, big recession. I mean, all signs point to it. There really ain't no escaping. The male Starbucks drinkers, they are shaking in their boots. So let me tell y'all something. The folks I talk to, they ain't too concerned. I mean, Bubba ain't waking up in the morning concerned that Biden's policies are going to be affecting deer season or the bass Biden.
Okay. So you see it right away here. This is the baseless bravado. And it's beyond baseless. This guy is hollow. There's nothing to this kind of posturing, this hollow hubris. There's nothing to it. And folks doing this need to be called out as cowards for not addressing the victimization of Western kind. This you've all heard so many times, where they'll say, "Oh, he can't do anything to me because they can't do X, Y, Z to me. You just wait till they, come to my house." ATF going around people's houses, no shootouts recently. But there's nothing they can do. There's nothing. And it's beyond pathetic at this point. It's been beyond pathetic for a very long time. And but what's lacking, what's as bad, is that real men and women of the West aren't calling this out. So refusing to observe, refusing to acknowledge how you can be victimized. For example, in this case, he says, and there's no guarantee about what he's claiming here about this really big recession or whatever. But if that's the case, then he should soberly be addressing his audience. He has well over 100,000 views on this dumb little video. So you have this claim that, and I'm going to share something with you all at the end. Don't go anywhere, because there's something about living in the wild, living out in the wood, living out so far nobody will ever find you, off grid, that if you haven't heard about it and you haven't thought about it before, you're going to have to, because it's growing. It's becoming more and more prevalent across the United States. So I'll share that with you all sort of as a public service announcement. So here's this loser. Bubba don't care. Bubba don't care. Let's back this up. Your life might go to the dogs. You might lose your job. You might, as a white person out there, and there you have the radical individualism that we have to dismantle, put through a paper shredder, put through a wood chipper, and then put into an incinerator, and then take the dust and put it on a rocket and fire it at the sun. No more radical individualism. End of radical individualism. This is what radical individualism gets you. Well, hell, you just let him go ahead and wipe that economy out, because my friend Bubba over here, he's going to be fine. Your family might starve to death. You might be a barista at Starbucks. You might starve to death. So what? According to this guy, this is Americanism. This is why America fell so easily to the anti-whites. I mean, it was like the wind blowing through the reeds. And this wind, called a pyroclastic flow. Just a giant cloud, superheated cloud off the top of a volcano that blew through fields of wheat. That's how easily America fell to anti-whitism. And why is that? Because you had a bunch of white people who were proud about being white. And they thought they had manifest destiny. But they were infected by this asinine individualism. And that was it. Like this. That's how easy America went down. And you're seeing it articulated by this guy right now. And then what do you call him? A lefty or a liberal at the Starbucks or whatever? Well, if it's a white guy, you don't necessarily know that he's anti-white. Maybe he's got a degree in engineering, but can't get a job doing it because he's white. Now he's got to work at Starbucks and contemplate suicide. And then when the value of his measly check can't buy him food anymore, well, so what? Because it's all about radical individualism.
It turns out a bass hits a worm just as hard during a recession as he does during an economic boom.
All right, so this is you see how it's unfolding already. They'll ruin the economy, but I'll be able to hunt. I'll be able to fish. If you will be able to hunt and fish. First of all, they decide whether or not you get to fish or not. You ever heard of a license? When you say, well, I'll just go out on my own, well, then they'll just arrest you and fine you. What's going to happen to those population in those creeks and streams and ponds and etc. when the anti-whites decide to cut those sources of food off? Dumb. You really think they're going to allow a bunch of people to live around a food supply such as bass just hopping out of the creek? This ain't the 1800s. You can't go hide out in the woods and not have law enforcement and the government find you. Not only that, but when you have to, are all your hunting done in your front yard? Because if not, then you're gonna have to get into a vehicle, and it's probably a big gas guzzling or diesel guzzling truck that requires a lot of parts made in civilization that you won't be able to afford anymore if everything goes bad. So this is, in a very real way, this is a parallel argument to the preppers. This is just the posturing of a dickless wonder. This is it's not gonna bother me. It's not gonna bother me, for sure. This is a guy that cries in the fist fight. This is a guy that immediately starts begging for the police to come save him when he's finally pissed somebody off. This is the guy who his date laughs at when he finally takes his pants off. And she says, do you think I've never seen a ruler?
He ain't jumping out of the water asking what the NASDAQ's doing. Well, our freezers are going to be full.
My freezers are going to be full, but you'll be dead. Oh, what morality there?
The great is hard during a recession as he does during an economic boom. He ain't jumping out of the water asking what the NASDAQ's doing. Our freezers are going to be full. I don't know what y'all heard through the grapevine.
You know what I noticed in this video? Over here by his beyond his left shoulder is the jackalope. And that's like it's a fanciful character, doesn't exist, but it's like part of every idiot's garage. You never go to the home of a quantum physicist and find a jackalope.
Of the blue collar grapevine anyway. But we just spent $800 billion to reduce inflation, which is pretty much like asking Rosie O'Donnell to save you the last piece of pizza. It ain't gonna happen.
Oh, that's so funny. Let me see what you all are saying really quickly. Archangel says he uses redneck as a euphemism for conservative white people. He wants us to claim that we aren't victimized. Yeah, precisely. And it's cowardice to do that, and it's also a shirking of your duty. Because as men and women of the West, okay, sound is good. As men and women of the West, we owe all of our extended family, our thoughts, our love, our protection, where we can manifest it for them. So any guy saying, first of all, it's a lie to say, they can't do anything to me, I'm too tough. It's just baseless posturing. And he's standing idly by while white children are being victimized by the anti-whites. Because they can't do anything to him. They can't do anything to us. We're just, and then, sectarianize it to any group you want. So in this case, this guy's saying, well, we're rednecks. We just go out and hunt. We just find fish. My freezer's going to be full of fish. Unless they come and take your food, dumbass. Unless they decide to not stock that lake that's several miles down the road from where you live and do all your big fishing. This is the idea. I just want to mention it again, and I'll take a look at your comments. This is the idea that is parallel to this surviving off the grid nonsense. We don't need society as they stand in line at the pharmacist. We don't need all this civilization that all these gadgets that you make, and as they buy their brand new quad. I mean, this is when their content creators do this. It's not just funny. It's not just wrong. It's not just silly. It's not just a head shaker. Like, I can't believe it. This is the equivalent of like an enemy agent in your country, convincing your people that the presence of soldiers from another land is perfectly normal, nothing to be. And if you look askance at all at these soldiers and their flags and their tanks and everything, then you're just some kind of coward. You're not strong in your belief to be able to just sustain yourself as an individual. That's the equivalent of what this is. So, and what's the remedy for it? Is to ridicule and mock these people. Just savagely. All right. Looks like that Minot was deleted. I guess he wouldn't let up. I wonder, right, JK160, if this guy has boxes of Cheez-Its like the last prepping loser. Yeah, I'm sure. I guarantee you he does. I guarantee you he does. Carlisle, what was that other guy's name? I guarantee you this guy's freezer that's full of the bass he's been catching is actually full of microwave meals, and actually he's pretty wealthy. So off of all these conservatives and rednecks and etc., patriots, buying his shirts and songs and albums. So he might have a maid that makes them probably what's that stuff called? It's not Cool Whip, fluff. That doesn't look like that's rat poison for people. Nothing does. Probably every dish he eats is probably covered in fluff. Yeah, prepper nurse. Brad C. Great, thank you. Ed is, I guess, his first name. Thank you. Carlisle. Yeah, with his Cheez-Its. He was a Cheez-Its farmer. And like I said then, that's hydroponic. So it's a very difficult thing to do when you have to. See, that's what prepper nurse, well, he talks all day long about, don't do anything in the world. Don't try to resist this. Don't push back in any way. You just prepare for everything to collapse. And as he's saying this, thinking of his next script when he has his large audience of besotted white folk. As he's thinking about this, he's pulling up at the ATM run by electricity, where he is withdrawing some money, U.S. currency, that is accruing as a consequence of his retirement in 401k. These people are bastards when you get right down to it. I mean, this guy, he's a bastard. He is poisoning the minds of hundreds of thousands of conservatives, nationalists, etc., who need to be standing up and doing something now. They can't sit back anymore and continue to act pathetically like they can't be harmed. They're just going to be able to go out and run a trout line. Over here on Cash App, let's get a big round of raucous emojis going because we've gotten some attention. So Mo7's raucous emoji, $20 minimum for that, $25 financial gift. From Duke of Hazard. That is awesome. That is fantastic. Duke of Hazard has come in with a $25 financial gift, and he says, for standing down and standing by. It's a reference to Donald Trump. That's hilarious. Thank you very much. And we also have, well, isn't this interesting? Get out another round of 07, some salutes, V for victory, raucous emojis. Because we have a $30 financial gift from Starlet Overby. Thank you so much, sister. But here's how it came to me. She sent $30 to the great and honorable No White Guilt Clips, who, upon receiving this, figured out that she was trying to financially gift me. And so he sent it along those 30. So let's get a big salute for No White Guilt Clips, that mega champion, that Herculean god in all white positivity, passing this along. But do know that if you would like to support No White Guilt Clips, please do so. If his information is out there and you can get hold of his information, support No White Guilt Clips. If you can't send him cash as a gift or money as a gift, then support him with your words. Let him know how much you appreciate him and all the hard work that he's doing in service to white well-being. God bless you, brother. I really appreciate it. Duke of Hazard, Starlet Overby, and No White Guilt Clips. Basin Red Pilled is here. I bet he thinks we all bleed red, white, and blue. He doesn't see color. Yes, exactly. You know he does. You white people out there, you just go out there and be radical individualists. Just think you just go out there and you just hunt yourself a grizzly. I've heard guys talk about just insane things. Like, if it came down to it, I'd hunt bears with a knife. No, you wouldn't. You would cry in a corner of Walmart because the shelves are empty, and then the police would take you off to jail where you'd be raped to death. All right, just taking a look. Make sure you tag me if you want me to see. Basic Red Pill says, will you be debating someone from the NJP anytime? The only one from the NJP, oh gosh, I just forgot his name. He appeared with me on PWR. The remainder won't appear with me. Oh, I just want to say his name again. Damn it. And I think they'd just rather not talk with me. All right, let's get back to this, and then we'll take a look elsewhere.
We live by a code in the woods that surpasses all politics. We love our neighbors. We keep to ourselves.
Surpasses all politics. I believe what he's saying there is surpasses race, surpasses the objection to victimization as white people. So we don't talk about race. We got a code in the woods. So it's all abstractions out in the woods. Doesn't matter. Remember from the other video. Doesn't matter what gender, what genders there you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. Remember that in the other video. So now he's saying we got a code, an abstraction out in the woods. This is what happened to the South, and it breaks my fucking heart. The South has been, the Southland in the U.S. because it had an identity apart from the United States, that really joined it from like the westmost part of Texas all the way across and then all the way up to Northern Virginia. For a long time, people thought if there's going to be any resistance, it's going to get started there because they have this. And to a degree, I mean, there are still pockets of this. But increasingly, anti-whiteism, since it's psychological warfare, everything falls before it that isn't a psychological defense specifically designed for it. So even Southern identity. And so now you see where, well, back in Duke Hazard days, they would say, a Southerner is white, almost always Christian, and then it would be like this list of things. Not anymore. Now it's just like some abstractions, just like the rest of the United States.
And we never ever trust a white liberal wearing flip.
What? Of course he would just condemn white people. What an absolute dickless piece of shit. Can you see the hand up his ass? The puppeteer?
Ain't gonna happen. We live by a code in the woods that surpasses all politics. We love our neighbors. We keep to ourselves, and we never ever trust a white liberal wearing flip-flops and eating kale telling us how to live our lives.
Okay, so attacking white people. Yeah, man, you gotta be really brave. You gotta be really courageous to do that, to attack white people. That takes a lot of bravery. What an anti-white piece of shit. Be a radical individualist. Don't worry about what happens to the rest of the white race. We're this group of abstractions, which, by the way, Lovely Porge on the other side of the world points out, is what he talks about as communism. You're gonna have, everybody has to have the same set of ideas, and if you don't agree on the same set of ideas, like we're all just, whatever genders, whatever races we are, we all have just this little set of ideas, and if you don't like it, then we throw you out. And when he decides to attack a race, and he attacks the white race, the race that is victimized. What a piece of shit. See, like when this guy has a concert somewhere, somebody needs to get a hold of a mic that's plugged into the speakers and tell everybody there that this guy hates white people. Demand that he say that he objects to the victimization of Western kind. I'm going to personally start ridiculing this guy.
The modern Democrat male is the kind of dude that orders a knife designed by Navy SEAls, but all he ever gets used for is opening a few of his wife's Amazon packages.
No. That's not the modern Democrat male. He would never order something that was associated with warfare in the military. No, the kind of guy that would order something associated with the military and specifically special warfare is this clown. And it wouldn't be Amazon packages that he would be opening up for his wife. It would be the new vibrator box because she's burning through those things since he can't pleasure her.
The modern Democrat male buys a pickup truck, but all the truck that ever gets used for is 2 bags of mulch once a month from the Lowe's Garden Center. They are not the same as us.
Oh, so. And that's like 90% of Americans. What they do with their vehicles. They have a truck. They're going to drive it to work. How many people own trucks, pickup trucks, and who actually like dump 1,000 pounds of rocks into the back? How many people? I mean, that's right. Doesn't happen. That's a small number. But we're different because we're just towing Concords over mountains. Shut up.
Rednecks, we ain't quite as worried about a recession, I guess, because we all have hoarding tendencies. Nothing gets thrown out. Y'all know this. We reuse and we repurpose everything. Plus, we've been ready.
Hold on. These hoarders, reuse and repurpose. You mean people that have a psychological disorder and their houses are full of trash from their lives. From 50 years ago, trash stacked from floor to ceiling. That's not a strength. You know, the electric bill from like 1989 in shoeboxes is not a strength. Him being able to repurpose the condom he used 7 years ago is not a strength.
Ready for the apocalypse since January 20th, 2009. Liberals are dependent. Y'all know this. We reuse and we repurpose everything. Plus, we've been ready for the apocalypse since January 20th, 2009.
Okay, so he got right to the point about what I'm saying about these people. That they're going to be able to survive off the grid. That they're going to be able to survive without government. This is baseless, hollow hubris that we need to break out of our people. And maybe beat it out of them, metaphorically, of course. You're not surviving shit. Nothing in that space where he's sitting right now was made by him. He's not surviving any apocalypse.
Liberals are dependent because they're dependent on a system which can always crumble. We're independent.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Dependent because they're dependent on January 20th, 2009. Liberals.
And I just want to jump in here. I get in his mind, apparently they're all white because he was able to identify the white race when he went on the attack.
Are dependent for the apocalypse since January 20th, 2009. Liberals are dependent because they're dependent on a system which can always crumble. We're independent because we got daddy's belt, his thick skin, and his 45. The economics.
My God. That is so childish. And I grew up around, when I was a child, I grew up and I would hear adults say stuff like this. And even as a child, I would lose all respect for them. Got daddy's belt, his thick skin, his 45. Well, they got a sound cannon that will liquefy your organs, you dumb motherfucker. And they won't even have to use it because they'll just have to come up and knock. We want your guns. Okay? What did I do wrong? You were white.
Just don't work no matter how bad they want to. Watching liberals try to explain economics is just about as awkward as Deshaun Watson walking into a new massage parlor. It ain't a good idea.
Okay, so when I skipped through this, I caught that part right there, and I was like, "Who's this?" I bet you it's got to be some kind of sports ball guy. So I looked that up really quick. Boy, by the way, look at the image there. If you could maybe take a screenshot and zoom in later, he's absolutely fit. I'm not saying everybody's got to be look like me or the golden one, but look at this guy's belly coming out through his t-shirt. That's a size too big for him, and these noodles coming out of the sleeves. I wonder if he has arms. So I had to look up who this Deshaun is. Deshaun, of course, it's one of these non-white athletes that all of these guys who we don't need a system. I could just live out in the middle of nowheres and whatever. That they worship these guys. And here's the really disgusting thing. These non-white athletes. Here's the really disgusting thing. This particular non-white athlete is in a lot of trouble for. Well, the claim is, I don't know if any of it is true or not yet, but that he's been sexually assaulting the people who have been giving him massages. Now, if it's an assault, then these people obviously did not want him to touch them or to grab their hands and put their hands on him. Imagine this is probably some really strong football player, American football player, and intimidating and also intimidating culturally and socially intimidating. Because what are you going to do? You're going to fight back against this guy, and then now you have some anti-white group shows up in front of your parlor, and you run out of business instantly for being heretical, not treating one of the most injured group in all of the history of the cosmos like a king. They all should be treated as kings and queens. And then you immediately go out of business. But the thing that occurred to me that made this particularly disgusting for him to turn this into a joke is that you know damn well and good that a great many of these individuals who are coming forward and saying, I was assaulted by him, are white women. What do you think about it now? Is that funny? Is that funny, you piece of shit? You goddamn clown? This clown there thinks it's real funny to talk about. This guy, he just keeps going to massage parlors and keeps grabbing hold of white women.
It keeps happening. Truth is, you could drop about 10,000 nuclear bombs on us right now, and the last thing on planet Earth is going to be a McDonald's, fire ants, and rednecks, because those are the hardiest elements on planet Earth.
It doesn't get more childish. Isn't he like a 9-year-old boy in a quasi-male's body? I mean, he's got a lot of feminine features, like back fat. But, I mean, isn't it a 9? You could drop 10,000 nuclear bombs on us. When was the last time you heard that? Yeah, me too. Elementary school. But they didn't actually say that anything would survive, right? It was cooler. It was like we would be radioactive monsters or whatever. Not with this clown. It's like McDonald's will survive. That's his hyperbole. Hilarious.
Earth. They know that I'm speaking the truth. You step on our hose, we're just going to reroute it. You cut off our supply, we'll make our own. And if you come to us, you better bring something stronger than 87,000.
Oh, this is the end of it. So here it manifests again. It was gross and wild hyperbole a moment ago. 10,000 nuclear bombs, and now it's back to the literal claims that the government could pinch off your hose, and his prostate's already doing that for him. I assure you. But the government could pinch off your hose, and we're just going to reroute it. No, you're not. No, you are not. If they want to do something to you, the anti-whites dominate. They will do it, and you will not be able to resist. And all this bravado is doing is setting up millions of our brothers and sisters for rape, for murder, for molestation, for who knows. I mean, if they could say today, we want all white people to march into the front of this brick wall for a firing squad, if white people would do it, they would order it to happen. Because they always go to the extreme. They always go to as far. Anti-whites, of all races, always go as far as white people generally, Westmen, will allow it. So you keep people talking about it, can't do anything to me. And that keeps them preoccupied. So they don't actually start getting nervous. Hell, if you just act like a pompous prick with nothing to back it up, that's all you need to do in life.
We'll make our own. And if you come to us, you better bring something stronger than 87,000 IRS agents armed with vegan sandwiches and a squirt gun.
Okay, 87,000 agents. And I think I shared what it said. They pulled it off the IRS website. And I don't know if it's true anymore. It's just, apparently it was on the website for the new jobs, some of these new 87,000 agents that, remember, the IRS can, and everyone knows this, everyone knows the IRS can absolutely destroy you. And they've done it. They go out and they rake people over the coals and there's nothing left. Every single person out there knows it. And here, this rich prick is going to tell everyone who could afford attorneys, who could afford to move money out of this country. This rich prick is going to tell all these blue-collar working class people that, and by the way, he doesn't look like he's worked a day in his life, does he? Not fit like that. He's just, I got a pair of blue jeans on, and he made sure to kneel in somebody else's driveway where their clunker is leaking oil, so he would have a little bit of oil stains there. But he's telling all these blue-collar white folk that, hell, they can't do anything with them IRS, and their vegan sandwiches. I don't give a shit what they eat, man, by the way. Their vegan sandwiches and their what we call squirt guns. It's supposedly it's said, and it's out there for folks to learn. It was, in fact, Tucker Carlson aired it on Fox News, and some others did as well. But Tucker Carlson aired it on Fox News, so you'll be able to go find it there. It said you have to be, for this job, you have to be able to use lethal force. What happened with Randy Weaver? Why don't y'all look that up? Well, they can't do it to all of us. Yes, they can, because you're a bunch of radical individuals. Where was the army that came and saved Randy Weaver? And that was back before some of you were even born. Where was the army? The whole town. Nobody went out there to fight the FBI and the ATF and whoever else showed up there. Local police, state troopers. Nobody. There was no military combat. They surrounded the house and shot the dog, and the son was shot dead by them, and the infant shot dead while the mother was holding the infant. She was killed by the same blast, and I believe his friend was also shot dead. It's going to take a whole hell of a more. I mean, this is trivializing of. It's almost like a sick gallows humor. If it wasn't, like if he were talking about himself, it would be gallows humor. If he would say they're going to come up here, there's nothing they can do with all their guns and tanks. Okay, that'd be gallows humor. He's talking about you. That's what he's laughing about. That's what he's making light of. Them coming for you.
Y'all liberals and big city dwellers, go ahead and figure out how to live, because when it's cut your supply chain off, it's just over. But if we go through tough times, we got...
Same thing happens. It's just over. If they cut the supply chains off, it's just over. Same thing happens to you as everybody in the cities. And by the way, if supply chains were cut off, and this is the prepper nonsense. If the supply chains were cut off, or they were unable to produce goods and bring them to market, people aren't going to just sit cross-legged in the cities and starve to death, watch each other getting skinnier and skinnier. They're going to come out to the suburbs. Then they're going to go out to the exurbs. Then you're going to find your little lonely houses. And you can run around window from window. You're not going to be able to shoot at them, because if you do, then law enforcement is going to Randy Weaver you. Then why isn't that a verb? Why isn't there something called weavering? Why don't we have a verb for what this anti-white government does to us? And it could not be more grossly demonstrated than what they did to Randy Weaver, in my opinion. I mean, to say, now, remember, he even won his civil suit, as I understand. People can look it up. I don't know every detail. But, he said that while the siege was going on at his house, out in the woods, out in the mountain, where he could run a trot line and all that bullshit, right? Hunting deer, clean the deer and everything else under the sun. And have his little patch of watermelon, like that's going to feed you and your family anytime. He's out there. Somehow, even though he's way out there, law enforcement was able to find him. And they actually surrounded the property with agents and tactical gear. Believe it or not, I know it. Believe it or not. And then Weaver said, as I understand, that he told law enforcement after whatever amount of time it was while the siege was going on in his house. The son was dead. His friend was dead. Best friend dead. His son dead. His best friend dead. The dog dead. And I think he might have even been shot or wounded somehow at this point. And he told the police, "Your beef is with me. Please let me send my wife and daughter. They're about to come out. Let me send them out. They should not have to go through this." And they said, "Okay, you can send her out. Remember, look into the story for yourself and see what happened, because maybe I'm recounting it wrong. Maybe I don't have it right." She opened the door. She was carrying the infant, stepped out onto the porch, and a sniper put a bullet through the baby's head and her heart. Why don't we have a verb called weavering? And when somebody like this talks this way, why isn't he just knocked out right away? I mean, sake. How are you going to trivialize what's happening to our people like this?
Jimmy Earl and cousin Ray Ray out there who know how to keep the redneck underground going 365 days a year. If it all goes to hell, your precious city's going to have high crime, looting, starvation, blocked freeways. We're going to have a pig in the ground, some beer on ice, and all my rowdy friends are going to be coming up tonight.
Oh, that's like a line out of a country song or something. Yeah, they're just going to sit around there in the cities, just starve to death and rob each other for nothing. And then they come out to your country house. Mobs and mobs and mobs of people made into hunters of humans.
Appreciate y'all watching. Be sure to subscribe. These videos are a hell of a lot cheaper than therapy.
Yeah. Look at this dude. He actually looks like a Jim Henson Muppet, doesn't he? Where is the puppeteer's hand? I don't see it. It's going up his ass somewhere. That's probably why he's got such a big smile on his face. He really likes it. So I don't know. Maybe you could, if you can't get to him or one of his concerts to humiliate him there, maybe go into his live chat, humiliate him there. I mean, anything. Get this guy, whoever can get him in his comment thread to say that he doesn't care about white people is really kicking ass. Because I don't think that he's smart enough. I mean, he vilified white people. I don't think he's smart enough to know that a ton of his audience won't think it's as funny if he says that he doesn't really care about white people.